No song better encapsulates the entitled life of a ridiculously wealthy rock star than Life's Been Good, Joe Walsh's musical satire of pointless excess. From the pricey Maserati he can no longer drive after losing his license, to a multi-million-dollar mansion he's never been to because he's on the road, trashing hotel room after hotel room, Walsh depicts a life of conspicuous consumption grown out of control. With a seemingly endless supply of money at their disposal, rock stars haven't always made the wisest financial decisions. Fleetwood Mac drummer Mick Fleetwood, for example, once told The Telegraph he couldn't even remember how many times he'd gone bankrupt. "In the end, I've lost count," he said. In the 1980s, one tabloid estimated that he'd spent $60 million or so on cocaine. Of course, those musicians and their off-kilter interests are only the tip of the iceberg. To find out more, watch on to learn about some rock stars who wasted thousands of dollars on bizarre things. Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga isn't just an internationally famous pop star and Hollywood actor, she's also a committed believer in the paranormal. That's been evident in her well-known contention that she's the reincarnated embodiment of her late Aunt Joanne, claiming that her mother saw a light enter her belly while she was engaged to Gaga's father. She believes that Joanne came into the room and sort of okayed her for my dad, and that Joanne transferred her spirit into my mom, she told Vanity Fair in 2018, as reported by the Boston Herald. According to a 2010 report from Ireland Online, Gaga's belief in the spirit realm extends beyond mere reincarnation. In fact, she is reportedly so terrified of encountering malevolent supernatural entities that she brings in a hired team of paranormal investigators to scan hotels and will only stay in places that have been given the all-clear. In fact, she supposedly shelled out nearly $40,000 on electromagnetic field meters designed to detect the presence of ghosts. Michael Jackson. After his 2009 death, reports emerged that Michael Jackson was close to $500 million in debt. That wasn't surprising given the way he burned through money, including the creation of a theme park and zoo at his Neverland Ranch, and his reported attempt to purchase the remains of John Merrick, aka the Elephant Man, from a London medical school. Back in his 1980s pop star heyday, photos surfaced of Jackson napping inside a hyperbaric chamber, a pressurized tank into which pure oxygen is pumped. Jackson first encountered that particular therapy after suffering severe burns while shooting a TV commercial, with the hyperbaric chamber used to accelerate his healing. In 1986, Jackson's manager Frank DeLeo confirmed that the singer was commissioning his own custom-made hyperbaric chamber, with plans to sleep in it in order to slow down his body's aging process. Michael says it is good for his body. DeLeo told USA Today of the $125,000 medical device as reported by Newsweek, but pointed out that neither he nor Jackson's doctor thought it was a good idea. "I can't figure him out sometimes." Keith Moon. Prior to Keith Moon's tragic death at the age of 32, the doomed drummer for The Who was renowned for his displays of rock star excess, famed for such antics as driving a Rolls-Royce into a swimming pool and trashing so many hotel rooms that he was permanently banned by Holiday Inn. Among his various hobbies, Moon collected cars and once purchased a small hovercraft that had been designed to carry a single person. Moon was known to blast around the British countryside in his beloved hovercraft, and he would often pilot the vehicle to places where a hovercraft typically wouldn't go, including the bedroom of houseguest George Lazenby. "What I mostly remember is going down to the pub on the hovercraft," Mandy told Universal Music. Perhaps the most infamous anecdote involving Moon's hovercraft was the time he flooded its engine and stalled the vehicle on a set of railway tracks while dressed in a Nazi uniform. That wasn't Moon's only out-there purchase. He also bought an open-sided milk truck, known in British parlance as a milk float, which he customized by transforming into a portable living room, complete with telephone, furniture, and record player. Eddie Van Halen. A 2001 jam session between legendary guitarist Eddie Van Halen and widely loathed rock band Limp Bizkit gave the Van Halen founder an excuse to utilize one of his favorite toys, a small tank. Eddie once bought an assault vehicle from a military auction, Eruption in the Canyon 212 Days and Nights with the genius of Eddie Van Halen, citing one of many weird things about the famed musician. It has a shine gun mount on the back and is not legal. According to Bennett, Van Halen wasn't impressed with Limp Bizkit's incessant weed smoking and bolted from the jam, leaving his equipment behind. When Van Halen's subsequent calls to frontman Fred Durst to return his gear were continually ignored, the guitarist escalated the situation. Eddie drove that assault vehicle through LA, into Beverly Hills, then parked and left it running on the front lawn of the house Limp Bizkit was rehearsing in. Bennett wrote, recalling that Van Halen also carried a handgun. When Durst answered the door, Van Halen reportedly held the gun to his head and ordered the singer to retrieve his gear. Eddie Van Halen stood on the front lawn of a residential home in Beverly Hills in broad daylight, smoking a cigarette while holding a gun on Fred Durst as he went back and forth from the house to the assault vehicle, lugging amps and guitars. Slash. When Guns N' Roses guitarist Slash made enough money to purchase a Los Angeles mansion, he outfitted the place with a unique array of pets. "I installed a full-on reptile zoo over there," the rocker wrote in his autobiography Slash. In addition to reptiles, Slash also had a pet mountain lion, whom he'd named Curtis. Pinball machine creator John Borg recalled meeting Curtis when he was still a kitten, then about 8 months old. "He was as friendly as your average house cat," Borg recalled for Far Out. "He was much larger than a house cat, a little bigger than a German shepherd," Borg added. When Slash's home was heavily damaged in an earthquake, he decamped to a hotel with Curtis in tow. As he wrote, "We snuck him into the Four Seasons in his cage and locked him in our bathroom." That situation didn't last long. As Slash left his room and headed out to dinner, he saw Curtis following him down the hall, having somehow managed to escape from his cage and open both the bathroom door and the hotel room door. "I realized that we had to deal with him immediately. So I called a friend who is an animal caretaker who picked him up and took him up to Canyon Country, where a friend of mine had a facility that housed exotic animals." Slash wrote of briefly housing a mountain lion in a luxury hotel.